Hey there, guys. Welcome back. More Hearthstone Rastakhan card review. Let's start with Kavanagh the Frog, the legendary Loa Beast 4 Shaman. 6 mana, 4/6. Decent stats, not really, but decent. Decent enough. Battlecry. Return all spells you've played last turn to your hand. So we already know that the Spirit wants you to play a spell, draw a new one that costs one more, play it, and pretty much chain your spells together. And Kavanagh the Frog allows you to get those resources back on the upcoming turn. So any spell that you've cast prior to this specific turn, you're gonna get all of them back into your hand. Now that can mean, buff spells. We know that we might want to play a lot of death rattle on our own minions and buff spells or whatever it is that we have. We're gonna get all of those back, allowing us to buff our creatures even more. Or we might actually end up doing a lot of board clears or face damage or stuff like that. Even playing like just a normal hex on something and playing Kavanagh in the upcoming turn and getting that hex back into your hand already is like a really good thing. That alone would actually justify having this minion inside my deck. Being able to run effectively 3 polymorph effects plus maybe some AoE board clears. That would be like mind-blowing, right? That's already good enough. So I really like the froggy Loa. I think that's a good card. Next we have Tree Speaker, another druid card. 5 mana, 4/4. Transform your treants into 5/5 ancients. Treants are bad. I don't know if this thing transforms only the things that are on the board or even in your hand. If this thing transforms the ancient apple-y treants that you get from rotten apple or whatever that thing is inside of your hand, but that would probably make them 5 mana, 5/5s inside of your hand, because that would only make sense theoretically. So that means, let's say you get those treants inside of your hand. That is a 2 mana 2/2. If you play this on turn 7, you can effectively play a 5 mana 4/4 and a 2 mana 5/5. So 7 mana 9/9. On paper, that doesn't look that bad. So this is the kind of card that is helping a little bit that treant synergy style deck come along. It's not there yet. I believe this is like one piece to that puzzle that is being added. Maybe we're gonna see more of these kind of things revolving around treants or wisps or things like that in the druid niche that are going to be implemented in future expansions. Up until now, nothing with, hand buff. I don't know. It's called Big Hand Druid or something like that. That had a token style thing revolving around wisps and things like that. Is a thing. You do play treants there. Not as effectively. I don't know if this would actually make the cut for that. Might be interesting to try out. Nah, I'm just gonna say it's bad for now. Next we have 4 mana spell for Mage. It is called Scorch, of course, because Mage has a lot of ice and fire. Why not? Deal 4 damage to a minion. Costs 1 if you've played an elemental last turn. So we already know that Mage actually has a ton of elementals, a ton of elemental synergies. They really love running elementals. So having a 1 mana cost card that deals 4 damage to a minion is definitely a thing that you're going to see being implemented inside of that deck. So this is a good card. Next we have 0 mana priest card, Regenerate, restore 3 health. Now, a way to restore 3 health. We did have some cards that revolve around drawing other cards if you restore 3 health to your hero. I don't know if that's really a good incentive to run in priest specifically, because they do already have North clerics, but it's a nice card to have. 0 mana health regeneration in general, really good, and priest can definitely utilize it in more ways than one, and I think this card is going to definitely be played in specific decks, so it's a good card. Yeah. Next we have Ornery Tortoise. Tortoise. It's a Tortoise, man! It's a 3 mana 3/5 beast battle cry. Deal 5 damage to your hero. Ooh, that's a big downside, but it is more stats than a 3 mana 3/4. It is also a neutral card, so anyone can utilize this. Certainly some classes don't really care about taking damage, so that means it's pretty much a go-to mid-range higher aggression minion. So it's a decent minion. I like it. It's cool. It can definitely help out specific archetypes like heal paladin, or other things that like to heal or don't really care about health that much. It's also a beast. That might be a thing. Okay. Yeah. I like it. It's a cool card. It's probably not the most exciting card in the set, but it's definitely a nice card. Oh boy. Demon Bolt, an 8 mana, another 8 mana cost card for Warlocks this time. Destroy a minion, cost 1 less for each minion you control. So as long as you can control 7 minions, then this thing is going to cost 1, and it destroys a minion. I think this card is good. It looks awkward and weird and unjustified, but I believe Warlock has a lot of tools right now, a lot of tools to disrupt and control the entire game up to the point where he wants to. And Mecha'thun comes to mind, also Azari, and Twisting Nethers and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that Warlocks can do to slow down the game, to pulverize everything you throw at them and still be able to be alive. Also, the Death Knight card, Gul'dan, is really powerful and impactful on the game, and he can pretty much finish out the game if he can constantly deny everything you want to throw at him. So yeah, this is one of those tools that is really going to help Warlock in specific niche decks out like a lot, and it's gonna be frustrating. 8 mana removal is not that much, but as long as you start having like a couple of minions on the board, we already have like 6 mana Siphon Soul. Sure, that thing also heals you a little bit, but it's already good. So as long as you have 2 to 3 minions on the board, you already have another cheap way of removing your opponent's threats. I like it. I like it. Next we have Flash of Light, a 2-mana Paladin card. Restore 4 health, draw a card. Now this is a beautiful card. It just works. It's just beautiful. We already know 2-mana, draw a card. It's a card that cycles itself. We've seen it in much more interesting ways. 2 mana is like the price you want to pay for it, and it has to have a downside or an upside. Usually the upside is not that high and impactful, because we attach to a minion that draws a card. It's just a 1/1 that draws you a card for 2 mana. It's not that impactful, doesn't really do anything, it just cycles itself, right? This thing also helps you heal. Now, healing a specific minion or your face is really going to help you out. Paladin is the class that really revolves now around healing a lot, even more so than Priest in certain stages. And this is a card that is going to push, heal Paladin even further. I really like this card, and it's a really good card in general, even if it's not entirely based on health regeneration and health synergy. It's still gonna be good. We might even actually get to see, there's a heal zoo for Warlock. We might actually have a new heal zoo for Paladin. That might actually be a thing, because Paladin wasn't able to be so aggressive with specific things like that, because of the fact that it doesn't have Warlock's card draw mechanic, right? But being able to do a lot of little pesky things on the side, and also healing specific things and getting other cheap ass things and drawing cards and doing all that, we might actually get to see that. I like it. I really like this card. Next we have another 7-mana cost card, this time for Warlock. Bloodroll Sapir. After a friendly minion dies, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. Okay, so it's a 7-mana 5/8. So whenever your friendly minions die, you deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. This is really interesting because it incentivizes you to kill off everything you have, when you take specific trades, or when you kill specific things on your side, when you sacrifice them, so to say. You don't just sacrifice or trade up your minions. You actually end up doing small little 2 damage pings to your opponent. And we all know that Warlock is kind of aggressive, and in the later stages of a game, even if you are really aggressive, you might end up facing specific taunts or specific taunt walls or something like that, or board clears. And the closer you are to the late stage of the game, having a 5/8 on the board, that also in itself is a pretty big threat. It threatens your opponent pretty much. Also, it negates him. Like, if he puts up a taunt, sure, he's trying to slow you down, but in that, you still have your board. Sure, he clears your board, but you still get to do 2, 4, 6, maybe even 8 damage to his face by clearing his minion. So effectively, he did clear your board, but he took 8 damage in the process. That's really good, because you can even deal 10 damage. If you have 5 minions on the board and you sap them all, you just throw them in there, you can deal 10 damage. And that's a lot. That's a lot already, because don't forget, Warlock is hyper aggressive in the early stages, and this might actually help you win the game at the end of the game. It's just the last oomph you need. So I think this card is good. It's definitely going to be more interesting to play around this, because it's going to really incentivize you to keep Warlock in check, as in try to really take control of the board as fast as possible as you can and leave nothing to chance, basically. So I like this game. I like this game. I like this card. I think Bloodroll Sapir is really cool. Okay, Paladin card, Bloodclaw, a 1 mana 2/2. Okay, battle card, deal 5 damage to your hero. Another heal Paladin card that incentivizes you to play a lot of heal based synergies. Really helps a lot, you know, getting the damage into your Paladin so that you can actually heal. But even so, it is a 1 mana 2/2 card, and that is just a spectacular thing for even, you know, if you're aggressive and you just want to take control of the board in the early stages of the game and deny any kind of counter, you know, to your aggression, and you just go nuts all in from the get-go. It is an odd cost card, so that helps out a lot as well. It's also a really good counter tool to other aggressive style decks. You know, if you want to be all in on heal Paladin, or not even heal Paladin, just, you know, control Paladin or mid-range Paladin in general, this is like a good card to have. Definitely a good card to have. I like it. The Cheaty Ankle Biter, a 2 mana 2/1 lifesteal. Battlecry, deal 1 damage. So the Battlecry deal 1 damage. 2 cost, 2/1. It's okay. It's decent. Plus it has lifesteal, so the 1 damage you do does actually heal you for 1, and then when this minion gets to attack or trade or whatever, it will heal you 2 more. So that said, this is an interesting tool to have. It's a little bit more healing that you can get. It's probably a good fit for Heal Zoo, just because it allows you to dictate an early trade or an early ping. You know, it heals you a little bit. It allows you to pretty much cheat out a 0 mana 3/3 out more easily. Yeah, I like this card. It's not as useful in many decks, but in specific decks I think it's going to find a place. It has a niche place in specific decks, and I just like it. It seems like a really nice card. Next we have the Serrated Tooth. It is a 1 mana 1/3 weapon. Not exactly sure for what it is. Defral, give your minions rush. Is this a shaman card? Right. Serrated Tooth. Let's see. Rogue weapon. Okay, it is a rogue weapon. I'm sorry. See, you don't see that very well over here. It's like fading out. Maybe my monitor is like, I don't know. So this is a rogue weapon. It's a 1 mana 1/3 Death Rattle. Give your minions rush. I don't like the rush mechanic that much in the way that, you know, you gotta have minions on the board and then you give them rush. Rush is more like something you want to play from the hand as a countermeasure to specific things. It is a 1 mana cost weapon. Goes a little bit against your hero power, which is a 2 mana 1/2. Usually that's what you want to do, right? You want to utilize your weapon to take specific trades in the early game. I don't think this card is very good. We got better weapons in Rogue that do more specific things and more interesting things as well. Plus the hero power there is basically negated in a way. The death rattle effect is interesting but not that insightful, so I would say this is not a good card. Okay, next we have half times Kavanagh, a neutral minion. It's a 4 mana 3/5, decent stats. It has stealth and overkill, gain 3 armor. Gaining 3 armor is not that insightful. Overkill is hard to manifest. The stealth aspect is kind of cool because it pretty much allows you to buff this minion, and then you can actually get the overkill effect more easily. So it has some merit to it. I kind of like it, but it seems more on the lower side of things. Hey. Stupid cat. So, yeah. Ooh. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a decent card. It might see some play. In Warrior, I would say specifically. Here's the card that, says that it might make Druid actually work with the whole Loas and Spirits and all that, what they got. This card is a 0-cost spell. It's called Pounce, and it says give your hero +2 attack this turn. So it's +2 attack for 0 mana. Still, you have to attack and kill specific minions to activate all that other jazz. So sure, you can get +4 attack with 2 pounces, or maybe even utilizing your hero power. You can go up to 5 attack, and then you can swing and swing and swing and swing and swing and take 1 billion damage to your face. Is it worth it? I still don't see it. On its own, it might be a good card because it's a 0-cost deal 2 damage to a minion, or a 0-cost deal 2 extra damage to face, right? That on its own might be good enough. With the other synergies, I still don't know. And here we have Mahjong Enforcer. 8 mana, 2/14, Taunt Divine Shield. Neutral minion, really impactful. Doesn't have a lot of attack, so that means most of the things that you're going to run into it are still going to be alive at that point of the game. It does have Divine Shield and a gazillion health. However, being at 2 attack, it is really, really dead to Mossy Horror. Mossy Horror just downright kills this thing. No questions asked. And also other specific spells that let you target 3 attack or less. I don't know. It's a nice card to have inside of the game. I think this is a good arena card. Again, in general, big beefy taunts are really impactful in arena because arena is not that spell focused. Other than that, I don't know. If this thing survives and you can switch it around, it might be a good card for Priest as well. Priest tend to love to have a lot of high health minions that are stickier. So that might be a thing. Might work. It might actually work in Priest. But it does have a high cost, so at that current stage of the game, it might be too late. Who knows? Who knows? You let me know. You let me know exactly what Mahjong Enforcer has done for you, and in what kind of deck you placed him in. Okay, next we have a 2-mana 2/2. This is a hunter weapon. Headhunter's Hatchet. Battlecry. If you control a beast, gain +1 durability. So chances are, as a hunter, that you will have a beast on turn 1, or at least on turn 2. Really reliable, so to say. So effectively, this is a 2-mana 2/3. Really good weapon. We know that hunter is getting some other things that really synergize with weapons. Even a 2-mana 2/2, even if you don't have the beast, it's still decent enough. But we do have other weapons inside of hunter. Will you change some of those? Take something out, put this thing in? Could be interesting. It's a nice card to have when your rotation hits. Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good card. I just don't know exactly how effective it's going to be, depending on what it is that you're playing with. Because Hunter already has good, really good weapons. So yeah, see you guys in the next one.